Have you ever left a conversation feeling spiritually annihilated? Your arguments were impeccable, your logic flawless, your delivery polished to perfection, yet you walked away feeling like a ghost of yourself, drained, hollowed out, your vital energy siphoned through some invisible wound. That persistent knot in your throat, that tightness in your chest, these aren't merely symptoms of frustration. They are the physiological manifestations of a soul gradually recognizing it's been fighting a battle on a battlefield meticulously designed for its own inevitable defeat. This isn't just about losing an argument. It's about the slow erosion of your fundamental sense of agency, the quiet dismantling of your psychological integrity each time you engage in battles that were never about truth, but about dominance. Look around at the psychological landscape of your daily existence. The colleague who mistakes decibels for wisdom, the family member who trades exclusively in emotional manipulation, the social arenas where quick wit is weaponized and the most fragile egos consistently wear the loudest, most impenetrable armor. You've been systematically sold a dangerous, soul-corrosive lie that your innate thoughtfulness is a design flaw to be corrected, that your natural calm is a form of complicity, and that your most profound, sacred silence is nothing more than a white flag of surrender waved in defeat. This programming runs deep, installed through years of cultural conditioning that celebrates extroversion and mistakes volume for value. We're taught from childhood that good students speak up, that leaders command attention, that influence comes through persuasion. But what if this entire framework is not just flawed, but deliberately designed to keep you perpetually off balance, constantly seeking validation through external approval? But what if the entire paradigm is inverted? What if your greatest perceived weakness is, in fact, your most lethal and overlooked advantage? What if the very qualities you've been taught to suppress are the master keys to a form of influence you've barely dared to imagine? Consider this. Throughout history, the most influential figures weren't necessarily the most vocal. They were often the most observant, the most patient, the most strategic in their communication. They understood that true power isn't about controlling the conversation, but about controlling the energy beneath it. They recognized that while words can inform, silence can transform. While arguments can convince, presence can convert. This isn't passive resistance, it's active transformation through deliberate non-participation in games you cannot win. Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher modern culture has persistently dared you to misunderstand, wasn't merely playing a different game. He was revealing that the conventional social game itself was an elaborate cage constructed for the comfort of the mediocre. While the herd mindlessly scrambles for the temporary warmth of the spotlight, he pointed unflinchingly toward the profound, untapped power waiting patiently in the shadows. His most devastating psychological insight, the one that shatters all conventional wisdom about communication and power, is this: the compulsive need to speak is always a confession of deep-seated psychological need. The truly powerful operate from a place of unshakable existential abundance, where validation is an internal currency and strategic silence is the mother tongue of true sovereignty. This insight cuts to the core of human psychology. When you observe someone who cannot stop talking, who must always have the last word, who reacts immediately to every provocation, you're not witnessing strength, you're witnessing dependency. You're seeing someone whose sense of self is so fragile that it requires constant external reinforcement to maintain its coherence. Their verbosity isn't power, it's poverty disguised as abundance. Let this fundamental truth begin to recalibrate your entire reality. The individual who aggressively demands you acknowledge their strength is, in that very act, broadcasting a profound poverty of it. The voice that cannot tolerate even a moment of authentic, unscripted quiet is fundamentally terrified of the existential emptiness it might find there. Every unsolicited explanation, every defensive rebuttal, every emotional outburst is a visible leak in their psychological foundation, a crack in the facade through which their deep-seated insecurity bleeds out into the open. This understanding alone can revolutionize your relationships. Suddenly, the office bully isn't intimidating, he's transparent. The manipulative family member isn't clever, she's desperate. The constantly interrupting colleague isn't confident, he's fragile. Your perception shifts from being threatened by their behavior to understanding it, and in that understanding, you reclaim your power.
This isn't abstract ivory tower philosophy. This is the real operational software for human dynamics, the hidden physics of influence and power. And you, like most, have been running painfully outdated, self-sabotaging software. Every time you felt compelled to explain yourself to someone determined to misunderstand you, you've been running this software. Every time you've sacrificed your peace to prove a point to someone who wasn't arguing in good faith, you've been running this software. Every time you've allowed someone to drag you into an emotional battlefield where the rules ensure you cannot win, you've been running this software. The cost isn't just the immediate frustration, it's the cumulative erosion of your psychological sovereignty. The gradual outsourcing of your emotional state to people who don't have your best interests at heart. I want you to viscerally recall the last time you felt that gut-wrenching compulsion to justify your very existence to someone. What specific piece of your soul did you silently trade for their temporary understanding? Comment right now with the words, "I revoke my need to explain." Let's make this declaration tangible, a public line in the sand.
We are now immersed in a culture that worships feverishly at the altar of noise. It screams at you from every screen and headline that you must fight fire with fire, that you must relentlessly pursue the last word, that every conversation is a courtroom where your fundamental worth is perpetually on trial. This is the grand societal deception, a glorious, glittering arena constructed by and for fragile egos, where the hollow prize for winning is merely a deeper, more insidious enslavement to external opinion. Social media platforms optimize for engagement, not understanding. News media prioritizes outrage over insight. Even our personal relationships often become performative spaces where we curate versions of ourselves designed for maximum approval. In this ecosystem, silence isn't just countercultural, it's revolutionary. It's a withdrawal of consent from a game whose only winners are those who own the arena. The moment you react on their terms, you silently consent to their rules. You willingly accept their distorted framing of reality. You effectively become a supporting character in their narrow, ego-driven narrative. Nietzsche identified this toxic trap as the herd morality, an invisible psychic prison where your deepest, most human yearning to be seen as good, reasonable, and right is the very chain that binds you. Your hunger for external validation is the hook in your jaw, and they, knowingly or not, hold the fishing rod. Herd morality doesn't just encourage conformity, it pathologizes independence. It labels strategic silence as aloof, thoughtful consideration as indecisive, and emotional sovereignty as cold. These aren't accurate descriptions, they're control mechanisms designed to keep you playing a game where the deck is always stacked against you.
True, unassailable power is not persuasive, it is simply overwhelmingly present. It does not seek the spotlight because it intuitively understands that the spotlight is itself the most elegant trap. It is the mountain that remains profoundly unmoved, not by the storm's fleeting fury, but by its own deep, geological, immovable mass. This presence isn't developed through techniques or quick fixes. It's cultivated through the gradual, consistent practice of returning to yourself. Each time you choose not to react impulsively, you're building this presence. Each time you listen to understand rather than to respond, you're strengthening this presence. Each time you prioritize your inner peace over winning an argument, you're embodying this presence. This isn't passive, it's the most active state of being, because it requires constant, conscious choice rather than unconscious reaction. This crucial understanding brings us to the threshold of Nietzsche's most dangerous, most misunderstood, and most vital concept, the Ubermensch, the Overman. This is not a cartoon superhero from a comic book. It is a powerful psychological archetype, a dormant potentiality waiting within you, representing the ultimate integration of will, consciousness, and decisive action. The Übermensch is the self-mastered individual who courageously creates their own values, their own morality, their own internal weather system. And the primary, most potent tool in this arduous forging process is not the sharpened sword of rhetoric, but the disciplined, strategic application of silence. The Ubermensch recognizes that most conversations aren't about truth. They're about psychological positioning. They're subtle, and sometimes not so subtle, negotiations about status, validation, and power. When you understand this, you stop taking conversations at face value and start perceiving the subtext, the real conversation happening beneath the words. Imagine cultivating a presence so psychologically integrated, so whole, that it needs no external confirmation. A calm so deep and resonant that it becomes a palpable, disorienting force field. A silence so intentionally crafted and maintained that it is perceived by the reactive as a profound, almost aggressive act. This being doesn't merely navigate the world, he actively shapes the gravitational field of every interaction he enters. While others expend their finite life force in a desperate, perpetual performance for an unseen audience, he conserves his energy with the focus of a master strategist. His silence is not a void. It is a powerful vacuum that actively pulls the chaos, insecurity, and unspoken fears of others to the surface,
forcing them to confront the very monsters they've been feeding with your past reactions. This isn't about being mysterious or aloof. It's about being so complete in yourself that you don't need to perform completeness for others. It's the difference between a shallow pond that reflects everything on its surface and a deep well whose waters remain undisturbed by what passes above. When was the last time you consciously allowed someone to fully exhaust their emotional tantrum, their manipulative guilt trip, or their intellectual bullying, while you held a space of utterly unnerving, unbreakable calm? Comment below. I am the eye of the hurricane. Nietzsche's philosophical genius was in intuiting what modern neuroscience would later confirm. Intentional silence is the ultimate mirror. When you consciously withdraw the expected reaction, the heated argument, the frantic justification, the emotional payoff they crave, you leave the other person starkly alone with the raw, unfiltered data of their own psyche. The narcissist is suddenly confronted with his own bottomless need for reflection. The bully is forced to face his own underlying cowardice. The manipulator sees with terrifying clarity the hollow, grinding machinery of his own tactics. Your silence becomes the blank, high-definition screen for their deepest insecurities to project themselves upon in horrifying detail. This mirroring effect is why manipulators and emotional predators often become enraged by calm, non-reactive people. It's not that they're angry at the silence itself. They're angry at what they see reflected back at them when they're deprived of the drama they need to avoid facing themselves. Modern brain scans show us clearly that unexpected, prolonged silence reliably triggers a primal threat response in the amygdala. The human brain, a sophisticated prediction machine, short-circuits and scrambles when its ingrained social scripts are torn up. The person screaming into the vastness of your calm isn't truly angry at you. They are subconsciously terrified by the deafening echo of their own emptiness. Your peace becomes their punishment, your stillness their unspoken sentence. This neurological insight reveals why strategic silence isn't just a psychological tactic. It's a biological intervention. You're literally rewiring the interaction by changing the expected stimulus-response pattern. You're breaking the chain that normally leads from their provocation to your reaction, and in that broken chain lies your liberation. Identify one person in your life whose perceived power over you exists only in your predictable reactions. What is the one thing they are most desperate for you to validate? Comment it openly. You crave my reaction.
Now we must move from theory to practice. And this requires us to surgically dissect the cultural cancer of nice silence. There is a silence that is tantamount to spiritual suicide. The silence that swallows your essential truth to maintain a superficial, brittle peace. That consistently prioritizes the temporary comfort of others over the permanent integrity of the self. This is not strength, it is deferred self-destruction. This is the silence of the slave who diligently polishes his own chains and mistakenly calls it duty. This nice silence is especially dangerous because it often masquerades as virtue. We tell ourselves we're being the bigger person, or keeping the peace, or not stooping to their level. But there's a crucial difference between choosing silence from a place of strength and defaulting to silence from a place of fear. The first is strategy. The second is surrender. Nietzsche condemned this with fierce intellectual passion as slave morality, a cunning value system engineered by the weak to guilt the strong into submission.
a system designed to recast cowardice as virtue, to reframe self-abandonment as kindness. This particular brand of silence is a slow-acting toxin that methodically paralyzes your will. It is the silence of the unlived life, the song never sung, the battle never fought for your own soul. Slave morality doesn't just encourage this kind of silence, it sanctifies it. It creates elaborate moral frameworks where turning the other cheek is noble regardless of context, where being understanding means tolerating unacceptable behavior, and where setting boundaries is labeled selfish. This isn't morality, it's control through moralistic manipulation. Where in your life have you fundamentally mistaken compliance for character? Where have you been a nice, obedient prisoner in your own life? Comment your declaration of independence. I sentence my inner people-pleaser to death.
The metamorphosis from a reactive individual to a psychological sovereign requires a deliberate, daily, disciplined practice. This is your personal training manual for advanced psychological warfare. This transformation won't happen overnight. Like any form of mastery, it requires consistent practice, inevitable failures, and gradual improvement. The goal isn't perfection, it's progression. Each small victory, each time you bite back a reactive comment, each time you breathe through the urge to justify, each time you maintain your center in the face of provocation, builds your psychological muscle. Over time, what required conscious effort becomes natural expression. What once felt like restraint begins to feel like freedom.
The fortress of intentional stillness. When the emotional hijack begins, when your very biology screams for release, you must learn to become a dispassionate scientist of your own impulses. The goal is not to suppress the reaction, but to alchemically transmute it. Breathe into the tension. Let the awkwardness bloom around you. Your practiced stillness creates a sacred container where their instability becomes undeniable even to them. Your calm becomes the absolute metric against which their chaos is irrevocably measured. This fortress isn't built through grand gestures, but through micro moments of choice. The 2-second pause before responding to a provocative text. The deep breath before answering a loaded question. The conscious decision to say, I need to think about that, instead of immediately defending your position. These small acts of intentionality are the bricks that build your fortress.
The art of observational dominance. Stop listening merely to the words being spoken. Start listening to the entire psychological architecture groaning beneath them. Listen for the micro-tremors in their voice, the naked fear masked as overconfidence. Listen for the specific telling vocabulary, the projections, the distortions, the unhealed wounds speaking through them. Become a psychologist, an archaeologist, a master strategist. Every piece of data you collect is a future tool in your growing arsenal of deep understanding. Observation isn't passive, it's the most active form of participation. When you're truly observing, you're not waiting for your turn to speak. You're mining the interaction for psychological gold. You're noticing patterns. When do they become defensive? What topics trigger their reactions? What strategies do they use to regain control when they feel their influence slipping? This information is power. Not power over them, but power over your own responses. Who will be your first subject for this new level of deep observational study? Comment your intention clearly. I will decode, not react.
Real power resides not in the word, but in the pause. The sacred space between stimulus and response is the throne room of the emerging Ubermensch. Most people are existentially terrified of this vacuum and instinctively rush to fill it with nervous noise. You will learn to luxuriate in it, to let the silence stretch and thicken until it becomes a tangible, physical presence in the room. A single, well-timed pause can dismantle a lifetime of social conditioning without you uttering a single conscious syllable. Temporal control extends beyond individual conversations to the broader timeline of your relationships. Learn to slow interactions down. Take hours or days to respond to provocative messages. Schedule difficult conversations for times when you're at your best, not when you're caught off guard. Create temporal distance between other people's demands and your responses. This simple practice alone can revolutionize your sense of agency.
The power of unpredictable sovereignty. Become an enigma, even to yourself. Consciously break your own deeply ingrained patterns. When you are no longer psychologically predictable, you become utterly unmanageable to those who seek to control you. When they cannot anticipate your reaction, they are forced, often for the first time, to be authentic, to drop their own prepared scripts. You have successfully inverted the entire dynamic. They are now reacting to you, orbiting your calm, desperately trying to solve the fascinating riddle of your presence. Unpredictability isn't about being random or chaotic. It's about being responsive rather than reactive. It's about making choices based on your values and assessment of the situation, not based on conditioned patterns. When you break your own patterns, you not only liberate yourself, you give others permission to do the same.
Understand this with crystalline clarity. Strategic silence is not perpetual passive muteness. It is the disciplined conservation of spiritual and mental energy for a future decisive and perfectly timed strike. When the Übermensch finally chooses to speak, his words are not mere sounds, they are events. They carry the accumulated, condensed weight of all the silence he has consciously mastered. They land not as opinions to be debated, but as revelations to be absorbed. This is why the speeches of truly great leaders often have such impact. Their words emerge from deep silence and contemplation, not from reactive noise. Your words, when they finally come, should feel like this. Not the first thing that comes to mind, but the final distillation of your considered truth. What is one foundational, non-negotiable truth about your life that you have been too afraid to declare even to yourself? Speak it into existence in this space. Comment it now, without hesitation. My truth is non-negotiable. We now arrive at the ultimate societal dimension. Your personal practice of intentional silence is not merely a self-help tool. It is a radical, quiet, political act in a world pathologically addicted to distraction, superficiality, and the rampant commodification of human attention. Your conscious refusal to engage, your deliberate withdrawal of your reactive energy, is a silent strike against the entire exploitative economy of noise. It is a powerful declaration that your inner world is a sovereign nation that no longer accepts the debased currency of external drama. In an attention economy, your attention is the most valuable commodity. Every time you withhold your reactive attention from those who seek to manipulate it, you're engaging in a form of economic resistance. You're saying that your inner peace is more valuable than their outer drama. that your sovereignty is more important than their approval. Nietzsche's enduring legacy is not a neat set of answers. It is a gauntlet thrown down at our feet. The Ubermensch is not a distant destination. It is a direction, a daily orientation. It is the relentless, moment-to-moment choice to build your reality from the inside out, using only the mortar of your own validated experience. The first and most fundamental brick in this unshakable structure is a silence that is actively chosen, never imposed. This journey has no final destination because mastery is not a state to achieve, but a process to inhabit. Each day brings new opportunities to practice, to stumble, to learn, and to grow. The measure of your progress isn't in never feeling provoked, but in how quickly you return to your center when you do. Now, conduct a ruthless, honest audit of your mental and emotional life. How many of your daily words are spent as involuntary tribute to other people's opinions? How much of your precious life force has been silently leaked in arguments you were never, ever meant to win? How much of your innate personal power have you willingly given away through the desperate, exhausting performance of endlessly explaining your own existence? This audit isn't about self-judgment, it's about awareness. You cannot change what you cannot see. By bringing conscious awareness to these patterns, you begin the process of transformation. You start to notice the exact moment when you're about to sacrifice your peace for someone else's approval. And in that noticing, you create the possibility of a different choice. The quiet insurrection begins not with a shout, but with a decision made in the profound quiet of your own mind. It begins the precise moment you realize in your bones that the most powerful person in any room is often the one who has absolutely nothing left to prove. This realization changes everything. When you truly have nothing to prove, you're free. Free from the need to impress, free from the fear of judgment, free from the compulsion to control how others perceive you. This freedom isn't indifference, it's the foundation of authentic connection. When you engage with others from this place, you're not trying to get something from them, validation, approval, agreement. You're simply sharing your presence and allowing them to share theirs. Are you truly ready to lay down the crushing burden of perpetual performance and pick up the elegant weapon of your own quiet sovereignty? Comment your vow to yourself and this community. From this moment, my silence is my sanctuary and my strength. Let this be our collective, public pact. Remember this final truth, and let it be the compass for your every future interaction. The needy convince, the sovereign simply is. The frightened constantly fill the air with defensive sound. The powerful understand that true authority is a gravitational force that pulls, never pushes. The desperate beg for understanding with a torrent of anxious words. The self-possessed know with unshakable certainty that their reality requires no second-party validation. Let this understanding guide you, not as a rigid rule, but as a North Star. There will be times when speech is necessary and right, but let those times be chosen from a place of abundance, not lack, from a desire to connect, not to convince, from a willingness to share, not a need to prove. Your silence is not the emptiness between sounds. It is the fertile, holy ground from which your unshakable core will inevitably grow. Tend it with reverence. Protect it with your life. Build your entire empire there. This empire won't be made of marble or gold, but of something far more valuable: psychological sovereignty. It will be a kingdom whose borders are defined by your values, whose constitution is written by your truth, and whose only citizen is the authentic, unapologetic you. This is the ultimate power, not power over others, but power over yourself. And it begins, always, in silence. So stop begging for a seat at their table. Start building your own throne in the silence. Let them scream into the wind. Let them drown in their own noise. While they fight for scraps of attention, you'll reign in the kingdom of stillness. And don't stop here. The next video is essential. It will expand what you learned here and take your mind even further. Watch it, not for me, but because you deserve to go beyond. Because the weak shout, the strong remain silent, and the sovereign, he doesn't need to speak at all. The choice is yours. Will you be the noise that fades, or the silence that echoes through eternity? Your move.